Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you all for coming. Okay, tonight's class was sponsored by the Shutfin Business Network. It's South Florida's premier Jewish networking organization for young professionals. They have a chapter in Boca Raton and one next week in Hollywood, and one soon to be open in Miami Beach. In addition to business development programs, we're also huge supporters of local Jewish charities and Torah classes. We're honored to help spread Rabbi Nachman's wisdom this evening. For more information about the Shutfin Business Network and events, or to join the referral group near you, contact Simcha Edelman at simcha_Edelman@npcfinancial.com or call him at 954-592-5962. You can email me for more information. Thank you for sponsoring, and our sponsorships are always welcome. You see, now we have a lot better food tonight because it was sponsored. So thank you, Simcha and the Shutfin Business Network. Okay, so we're going to talk about a lot of, a few different things tonight. Nissan and Pesach, Agada. So first thing I want to talk about is the beginning of Nissan. Rosh Chodesh Nissan is next week. It's Rabbi Nachman's birthday. And it's a big Indian to go to Uman. A lot of people are going next week. But also, along with that, is in the Midbar, when we were in the desert after we left Mitzrayim, they built the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the traveling temple, and on the first 12 days of Nisan is when they dedicated it. So actually, right now, they set it up for a week straight, just practicing. Every day they would put it up and take it down. But the first day of Nisan was the first day that they set it up permanently, or at least until Hashem would say, okay, time to move, let's go. And they would take it down and move again. Because when they were traveling, they didn't know when they were going to leave next until Hashem let them know it's time to go. So, that's one of the reasons we don't say Tachanun. The entire month of Nisan, we don't say Tachanun, because whenever a majority of a month you don't say Tachanun, so then the whole month you don't say Tachanun. So we have the 8 days of Pesach, we don't say Tachanun, and the day after Isru Chag, plus the first 12 days. So what are the first 12 days? So each of the 12 days correspond to a different tribe. The Nasi, the prince, the leader of the tribe, would bring a special karban, bring a special offering, and we read about karban Nasi on Hanukkah. Everyone does that. That's what the Torah portion for the day is. But also, people have a custom to read it after Shul on the first 12 days of Nisan. Some shuls have more of a custom than others. In Sephardi places, they make it a big deal. Nusach Sfard, Chassidish places, but it's even here in the back of actually this is Sfard, but it is in the Ashkenazi Siddur too. And the Hebrew Art School brings it in the back. So it's really, you can find it in most Siddurim. If you look in the back, when they talk about the Parsha for the week, and then they talk about the Parsha for the holidays, so right before the Parsha for Pesach, it's called Kriyas and Nasi, the reading of the Nasi, reading of the Parsha for the tribe. So it actually says here, in the Art Scroll Siddur, it says Kasav Shla. The Shla writes that from Rosh Chodesh Nisan and on, there's a custom to read every day from the Parsha of the Nasi that is applicable to that day. So it's not so hard to figure it out. It says, and on the first day, the karban from the tribe, etc. Like the first one, actually I have to go back to Hanukkah. But anyway, so in the Art Scroll, it tells you what page to go to. You're really going to the days of Hanukkah. It tells you what to read. But along with that, there's a special prayer that you say. And basically, you're saying, I can read it. It says, it should be your will, Hashem, that you enlighten for us in your chesed, all the holy sparks and a lot of shefa and abundance and many different things that should shine for me. And then there's different languages, different expressions. Some say that if I am from the Shevet Ploni, meaning if, let's say, the first day is Ruvain, so if I'm from Ruvain, then it should shine for me this day. And because basically we don't all know what tribes we're from, some of us do, some of us don't. But either way, you're praying for that day. So some of the prayers, depending on what city you're using, doesn't say if I'm from that tribe. It just says, period, that tribe brings abundance for that tribe and for all of Klal Yisrael. So you pray, you say the korban of that tribe, and then you read the prayer every single day. So it's it's a special thing to do. You say it after davening, but along with that, I saw brought down in Rav Shik's Haggadah, and I'm sure it's in other places also, that the 12, since Nisan is the first month, it's Rosh Chodesh, it's also Rosh Hashanah. It's a Rosh Hashanah for the months. So it's brought down that the first 12 months of Nisan correspond to the first 12 days of Nisan. The first 12 days of Nisan correspond to the 12 months of the year. So the first day of Nisan corresponds to the entire month of Nisan, and so on. Right? The second day, was it Iyar? Nisan? Yeah. Nisan. So the second day of Nisan corresponds to Iyar. And then, Tammuz? Sivan. Right, Sivan, Shavuos. Okay, etc. So the third day of Nisan corresponds to Sivan. So basically, he says it's important to pray for that entire month. So the first 12 days of Nisan, you can pray for the entire year. It's a big deal. Also, he says it's very important not to waste these days, and to use them in holiness and purity. We know we're busy preparing for Pesach, but we shouldn't let that get in the way of our avoda. We have to make sure we daven every day with the minyan, even if we're staying up late. We have to make sure to get up and daven with the minyan, to make sure to get time for learning. And sometimes when we're busy, things get lax, maybe Shmer Seinaim, different things that we normally are very strict on. When we get very busy, we tend to forget. It's very important. That's the Yetzer Hara is trying to get us not to use these days. The first 12 days of Nisan are very important, and we can use them well. Actually, I wrote a prayer based on Rav Shik's on that lesson. I forgot to bring it. I printed out copies. So if you want a copy, email me ruv613@gmail.com. ruv613@gmail.com, and I'll send you the prayer. But it basically just puts the whole lesson into prayer, and you pray. You say it the first 12 days of the month, and to help you pray for the corresponding month of the year. So it's a very big deal. So that's two things. So number one, we have the korban nasi. We read the korban from each tribe, and that you can find. That's the Torah portion that we read on Hanukkah, and you can find it in the back of the Siddur, the special prayer to say near Pesach Parsha reading. And on top of that, also to pray for all 12 months in the first 12 days. So that's it for the topic of Nisan for now. So we're going to move back now to Pesach in general. So last week, excuse me. Last week we spoke about the mitzvah of Seder night. I'm not going to get into the whole thing now. You can watch it on Facebook from last week. But we showed how there's two psukim talking about the mitzvah of Seder night. One pasuk, Higadat lebincha, teach your children, tell it to your children, etc. Higadat lebincha, that's where the word Haggadah comes from, and the word Magid. And then in the beginning of Parshas Bo, it says Leman Tesaper, to tell over, to tell the story. Bazne bincha. So we explained last week the difference between the two. Now we're going to give a different explanation of Leman Tesaper, an additional explanation. So the pasuk says like this. You pass up the Chumashim, please. It's in Parshat Bo, the second pasuk. So you have a Shmo, so it's the third parsha in that book that you have. And if you have page 340 in the blue Art Scroll Chumash, 92 in the Art Scroll Rashi.
Carlos, that one is 340.
Chapter 10, look at the top. Chapter 10, 340. Chapter 10, verse 2 in Shmos. So it says like this: "Ulamad tesaper baznei bincha uben bincha es asher salalti b'Mitzrayim." In order that you will tell in the ears of your children and your children's children how I made a mockery of Mitzrayim and my signs asher samti bam that I placed there. V'yadatem ki ani Hashem, and you'll know that I am Hashem. So the question we asked last week is, why does it say, then you'll know I am Hashem? It says, tell your children, then you'll know I am Hashem. It should be, you know I am Hashem, concept of Hashem, concept of mitzvahs, etc., whatever, and then tell your children. What does it mean? You tell your children, then you'll know. It should be, it's the opposite order. So last week we explained it means it's a relationship, that you understand the relationship that you have with your children, and that's how I feel about you, and it was a little more in depth than that. But so tonight we're going to talk about something a little different. So if you look down actually on Pasuk 8 and 9, so Moshe and Aaron come back to Paro, and Paro said, okay, go serve Hashem. But who's going? So Moshe tells him, with our youngsters and our elders we'll go. With our sons and our daughters, our flock and our cattle will go, because it's a festival to Hashem. So basically he said, okay, you can go, but not your children. Serve Hashem, what do you need the children for? And he drove them away. So Paro is saying, it's kind of true. We try not to bring our children to shul. They get in the way from us davening. Right? If we're going to serve Hashem, it's a religious experience. What do we need the children for? And really, according to our Yeshiva, we didn't lie to Paro. We told Paro, we're going for a 3-day journey and we're going to return. So really, we did intend originally to do that. We're going to go get the Torah. The original plan was we're going to go get the Torah, come back and teach Mitzrayim, the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, right? The seven laws for all mankind, the universal Torah. And Mitzrayim, Egypt, is the superpower of the world, and they'll now have to teach the rest of the Gentiles, the rest of the Goyim. So Paro messed that up, etc. He ended up chasing us, and he lost it. But that turned into a war, etc. Also, we asked to borrow their things. What, did we lie to them? No. We were going to use it and give it back, but that became spoils of war. And also it turned into a war. He came after us to kill us, so the plan changed. Really, obviously Hashem knew, but that's a different, from Paro's perspective, he had free choice. He could have, at a certain point, until Hashem hardened his heart, he could have let us go, and we would come back, and he would be our shliach to teach the 7 laws to the rest of the nations. But anyway, so why is Moshe insisting that we need the children? We're going to shul, we're going to daven, we're going to get the Torah. Let the men do it. We didn't count the children. It says there were 600,000 people at Har Sinai anyway, right? Who are we counting? The men between 20 and 60 or 65? 20 and 60, right? So we're not even counting the children in the count. We're not even counting the women. Take the animals that we need to sacrifice, okay. But why do we need to take them? Let them stay home. We'll go get the Torah and we'll come back. It's interesting to know the Gemara itself, the Gemara Megillah, when it talks about Talmai HaMelech, I think Ptolemy in English or Greek, and it says that he gathered 70 sages together, 70 rabbis, to translate the Torah into Greek. And it was very darkness fell upon the world in that day, because he wanted to show it's just another chachma, another wisdom that can go on the shelf with all the other Greek books and math books and science books, and now the Torah can go on my bookshelf too. So there were certain things that for whatever reason Hashem didn't want translated literally into Greek. One of them was This pasuk. Not this pasuk, but when it says that they went, it says the pasuk says they brought their children with them. So all the 70 sages, they had Ruach HaKodesh, divine spirit, and they all translated, instead of saying children, it said elders. That they went with the elders to receive the Torah. Keep us a napkin. They went with the elders to receive the Torah. Thank you. Excuse me, I'm cold, obviously. Anyway, so why do we need to change it? If it's enough for us in the Torah that we took our children with and not the elders, so who cares? Why can't we tell Talmai HaMelech that we took our children? And if we needed to tell them elders, then why is it for us? Why did we bring our children then? What was it necessary to do that? The Gemara in Chagiga talks about a mitzvah called Hakel. What's Hakel? Hakel is when everyone comes to the Beis Hamikdash, and the Melech, the king, reads certain part of the Torah. But Hakel means everyone gathers together. It's a whole assembly that all of Klal Yisrael comes together. That's why it's called Hakel, like Kehila. Kehila means the assembly. Everyone comes together. Kahal, right? Everyone comes together. So the Gemara there says, why do we bring the children? To give schar, to give merit to the parents for bringing them. What does that mean? Oh, it makes it harder, so now I get more schar, because they have to carry the kids. If they bring the kids along, it's harder to bring them on. Now I get more schar. No, it doesn't make sense. So as Weig explains, it's so we can see them. That we see our children, we see the future. So what are children? When I was a kid with that song, children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way, right? Children of the future. Children means the continuity. It means that where it's not just here and now, it's not just us. We're in a club, I'm in a fraternity, and it's done when I'm older. No, I'm bringing the children along to ensure continuity. That this is an everlasting covenant and relationship with Hashem, and my children are going to be the future. And I want to ensure that it's going to be lasting. It's not just a religious experience, we're becoming a nation. Hashem is taking us out and making us a nation, making us a state, making us a corporate entity of Klal Yisrael. So Hakel there means a community. So we're bringing our children for Hakel to teach us to understand that we're making a community, that we come together, that we're a community. When we all come together with the King of Klal Yisrael, it's not just a religious experience. I'm not just going to shul. This is a national gathering, right? The Torah also calls Kabbalas HaTorah. What's another name for Kabbalas HaTorah? Yom HaKahal. It's the same thing. Kahal, Kehila, the day of gathering together. On the day we received the Torah, we became a nation. Not a religion, but a nation. A state. That's why the children have to be there. Because it's a state, it's a nation. We need to ensure that there's going to be continuity. To give them over, that they're going to have a responsibility, that they're going to be leaders one day. To show us that it's a community and that we have to take care of each other. So our message to our children is that we are a state. We are a nation. We're not just a religion, it's a whole community. So in religion, the elders are the most important, right? You go to the wise elders. We have that. In terms of religious things, we go to the Chachamim. When we need advice, different things, we go to the Chachamim. But in terms of ensuring our future, the children are the most important. And the religious communities, they put the biggest focus on what? On the children, on the schools. Okay, if you look in secular society, in public schools, usually they don't put a big focus. You know, you have the teachers themselves, They care about the kids. You can find a lot of good teachers. But in terms of the budget, and what goes on, they don't put a big focus on education. They put a big focus on college and doctors and lawyers and these important things. But on children's education, it's not so important to them. That's why they have this whole big thing about voucher system, because people, they're trying to, the public school system, they don't put enough money into it, so they have this whole alternative to make private schools better, etc., because they don't put a focus on the children or the future. They put a focus on doctors and lawyers and all these, big important things. But in a religion, so like I said, in a religion it's the elders, but when we're trying to ensure our future, we put a focus on the children. So that's where Paro didn't understand. Paro looks at it as a religious revival. Right? Okay. The sons of Abraham are getting together. They're going to reconnect with God. They're going to do their service, and they're going to sacrifice to their God. You don't need the kids. And he's right. If it was a religious thing, we're just going to shul, just going to pray. We don't need our children. But that's not what it's about. We're becoming a nation. That's also why Talmai HaMelech couldn't know this. Why not? Because to him, we're just a group of religious people. That's our religion. But if he knows that we believe we're a nation, so then he might be afraid that we're going to start up, our nation and fight against him and rebel against him. So he can't understand that we think that we're a nation. And we see this other times, like that's what they told Chashverosh. Oh, they're not even going to drink. They just tell them some of the laws that we have. Oh, if a fly falls into their wine, they'll just take out the fly. But if you touch their wine, they'll spill it out. So there's certain things, right? So it's something that the kings can use against us. Oh, they're a nation, they're rebelling against you. They have their own laws. They have their own courts. So it was better that he saw just as elders and didn't raise any suspicion about the children. But for us, we have to understand that we became a nation. So this is why it's saying, then you'll know I'm Hashem. Because when you tell your children and you teach them, right, that you'll tell your children, you tell them that we are a nation and we are a community and they have a job, that they're the future. When you ensure the Jewish community, then you'll know, then you have awareness of Hashem, then you'll connect with Hashem. It's through your children, through ensuring that there's a future of Klal Yisrael and understanding that we're a community, then you'll have a connection with Hashem. So that's the other understanding. Now, we're going to look into any questions? Oh, okay, so let's take out the Haggadahs. If you're at home and you have Haggadah, go grab your Haggadah. We'll give you 30 seconds to get your Haggadah. Okay, there's a whole bag of Haggadahs over there. We're using a Maxwell House Haggadah because it has the best parish ever, the best explanation. No explanation. Okay, with Haggadah, this is Rabbi Zweig's favorite Haggadah because there's no explanations. People get so caught up in reading the Mefarshim that people don't even know the basic Haggadah. It's very important, just to look through it without any explanation, just to see the structure. We're not going to go through it now, but Magid, let's say, is a few psukim from the Torah, a few verses in the Torah, and like 5 or 6 paragraphs is just expounding that one pasuk. And then another pasuk. Right? It's very kedai. It's very important before Passover, before Pesach. There's actually an Indian, there's a custom on Shabbos Haggadah, on the Shabbos before Pesach. There's a custom to go through the Haggadah, at least the Magid, the story. So you should really take one. Some of them show you the psukim, the verses, the actual verses in the Torah, the art scroll. Some of the art scroll ones do that. But just take a Haggadah without explanation and just look through and see the structure and familiarize yourself with just what's going on. the first part of it is talking, all these stories. That's just talking about the mitzvah of the story. Magid itself is the story. And then there's a few psukim that are referring to the story of leaving Egypt in the Chumash. And then we expound a few of those. And then it gets into the props of Seder night and the plagues. But that's really it. It's not so complicated. But there's so many, explanations. People forget about just the simple, basic structure of the Haggadah. So, last week we explained a few things. We spoke about Aramaic. Why does it start off in Aramaic? You can watch the class from last week. So we're going to turn to page 8. So again, we had the question, we have Magid. So this is called Magid. Magid means story. Magid, again, comes from the pasuk, Higgadah lebincha b'yom hahu. You'll tell your children on that day. It's in Shmos Yud Gimel Ches. So why are we using this language? Why is it called the Haggadah? Why is this called Magid? We just saw in Parshas Bo, Leman Tesaper. That's called Sipor Yetzias Mitzrayim, telling over the story of leaving Egypt. So that's called Sipor. Sipor better means story. Why don't we call this the Sipor? Sipor of Mitzrayim. We're using the word Magid, the other pasuk. So the word Magid comes from Agud. Agud means a bundle. We have this on Sukkot. We call the bundle, the lulav of the esrog, hadas and revos, that's called agud. We bind it together. The Gemara calls agud. It's bound. So magid, it's supposed to be binding yourself to your children and to the people with you at the Seder. It's not just like we spoke about last week. You have to see other people's perspective. People ask a question. You have to see from their perspective. What are they asking? How do I need to answer them? It's not just everyone comes to the Seder with their, their explanations and their Haggadah or the nice vort that they heard, and everyone just wants to share something, and there's not really a connection. Okay, you said something, now I'll say something, and no one's really listening what everyone has to say, or there's 20 different Dvar Torahs being said, so no one remembers everything. It's supposed to be about a connection. We're experiencing it together. We're experiencing leaving Mitzrayim together. It's supposed to be agud. It's supposed to bind us together, to our children and to the people that are at the Seder with us. We're going through an experience together, and we're supposed to be bound together. So the word magid is hinting at us agud, to join together.
Wow. The idea in mikvah is also good agud. It's like when you come out of a mikvah, if it makes it less than 40 seh, there's this idea that water is joining.
Wait, good agud is a...
Good achas. There's also an agud, no?
Good agud is a different thing. That's building a wall. Right, good agud is what? The wall? Yeah, we had that's involvement here. You set means you set or I'll set.
Oh,
you set the price and buy it from me, or I'll set it and buy it from you.
the boundaries for the wall.
But good there is set, yeah. Okay, now turn to page 9, next page. So this is the answer to the Manishtana. Avadim hayinu. Okay, no, we're not going to sing it. Okay, we were slaves. Mitzrayim. V'yotzianu Hashem Elokeinu. Hashem took us out. Misham be'ad chazaka b'zorni tui. He took us out with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. But then it says v'ilu lo hotzi HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If Hashem didn't take us out, next page, page 10, Avasinu Mitzrayim. If Hashem didn't take us out from Egypt, Hare anu v'neinu b'nei b'neinu mishubadim hayinu leparu Mitzrayim. Behold, us and our children and our children's children would be meshubed. What does it mean? Look at the English. We would still be what? What's meshubed? Don't all enslaved. Here's his bondage, right? We would be slaves. We would still be slaves to Paro in Mitzrayim. Do we think this is true? You don't think that when eventually the UN would put an end to it, somebody would stop it, right? We would still be slaves? What does that mean? No, what do you think it means? Would we think we really would be slaves? We'd still be slaves?
It's like being a slave in any other their society. You can be slave to society.
So you don't think it's
culture.
literal?
Probably not literal.
What does that mean? I would dress like an Egyptian? Walk like an Egyptian. Even the Egyptians today don't exist, right? The Egyptians nowadays aren't the same Egyptians as then, right?
Oh.
So what does it mean? We would still be slaves to Paro, to Egypt. Anybody else? Anyone else listening? Fega, what do you think it means? She's watching. So Meshubed, so on one hand could mean slaves, subservient, but then that would mean literally we would still be subservient. It also means, Meshubed means obligated. A sense of obligation to somebody.
We feel indebted.
We feel indebted. But why? Because if Paro took us out, let us go, we would feel indebted to him. Even if Hashem told him. Why? Hashem tells you, give tzedakah, right? But if you give me tzedakah, I'm still indebted to you. I still have gratitude for you. I still feel like you did me a favor. You did something to me. I owe you. Oh, but Hashem commanded you. Yeah, but you still did it. You didn't have to do it. But even if you did have to do it, it still came from you. So if Hashem told Paro, let him go, and Paro let us go, we would forever feel indebted to Paro. That he let us go. We would feel gratitude and feel obligated that we owe him. So therefore Hashem took us out, ripped us out of Mitzrayim with amazing wonders. Paro had no choice. It wasn't Paro, it was Hashem. Hashem took us out. So therefore we don't feel any shibud, any obligation whatsoever. But not only that, we left with the opposite feeling that he owes us for all the work that we did. Right? Later on there was a claim in different countries, the Jews took all their jewelry and all the wealth from the Egyptians. So it was said later on that was payment for all the work that they did without being paid for it. So that's what it means here, that we would be meshubed. It doesn't mean we'd be slaves. It would mean we'd feel obligated. We'd feel an obligation to Paro. We wouldn't feel really free. Okay, now we feel an obligation to Hashem, but that's okay. We're supposed to. One of the reasons we had avdus, we had slavery, was to know what it means to serve a king. We had to serve Paro and serve the Egyptians, be slaves, so he knows what it means to be subservient to somebody. Now, does it mean that we should have been treated like that? No. So my way of understanding is, let's look at an Eved Ivri. An Eved Ivri, a Hebrew slave, even Eved Kanani, we have rules about treating our slaves. An Eved Ivri, a Hebrew slave, if you only have one pillow, who's it go to? Your Hebrew slave. Right? So, but an Eved Ivri, he still learns avdus. He still learns what it means to be a slave. So theoretically, we could have been the status of an Eved Ivri. We could have been somewhat subservient to Pharaoh and to the Egyptians, but it didn't have to be the way it was. That's why they're punished. They could have just enslaved us in a nice way where they're servants. Okay, we don't get paid, but they don't treat us the way they did. They don't kill us like they did and all these horrible things. That's why they're punished, and that's why we had to be ripped out. But in terms of the purposes of serving Hashem, it just had to be a simple slavery. So moving on, turn to page 10. So we had the Manishtana, then we have Avadim Hayinu, and now we have different rabbis talking. There was a story about Rabbi Eliezer ben Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah. So these are just stories about them doing the mitzvah of Magid. Different things. They stayed up all night, etc. So in the last paragraph on 10, so Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, Haryani ke ben Shirim Shana, behold, I am like 70 years. I'm not going to get to that now. The Gemara and Brachos, because you know what I mean, like 70. But anyway, he says, Lo zechizi shetemar yitzis Mitzrayim beleilos. I wasn't able to merit to say yitzis Mitzrayim in the nighttime. Ad shedarsha ben Zoma, until Ben Zoma darshaned, he made a drasha shenemar laman tizkor, in order that you'll commemorate, to remember, as Yom Tzeisim Mitzrayim, the day you left Mitzrayim, kol yomei chayecha, all the days of your life. Page 10, second line from the bottom. Page 10. Okay. Kol yemei chayecha. All the days of your life, haleilos. That means the nighttime. So he made a drasha. He expounded that the word kol includes the nights. So therefore, he learned here that it's talking about the day. We have there's the mitzvah of day and night that we say in Shema, the last line. There Hashem took us out, right? If you look in the Siddur, it says, here, have in mind the mitzvah to remember that we left Egypt, right? Every day, day and night, we have a mitzvah from the Torah to commemorate leaving Egypt. So the question is, that's nice. That's for every day of the year. What does that have to do with Seder night? We're not talking, there's other things. Shabbos is also Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim. There's a lot of mitzvahs we say, Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim, right? But many mitzvahs we just throw in there, Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim, commemoration for leaving Egypt. So why don't we talk about all those here also? So the answer is like this. The mitzvah of Yetzias Mitzrayim, the mitzvah of leaving Egypt on Seder night, is to re-experience it. We have to look as if we left Egypt, that we're leaving now. The way the zmanim and times work, it's not linear. It's a spiral going up, right? That's how we look at it. So the zmanim, we're experiencing it now. Nisan is not a month of redemption because Pesach happened in Nisan. No. Pesach happened in Nisan because Nisan is a month of redemption. That's why it happened in Nisan. So this man, when we come back to the time of Pesach, all the energy is there. Rabbi Nachman talks about that we're in our own gullus. That when we're stuck in our ways. We're stuck in our bad taivas, our bad desires, our bad habits, our anger. We're stuck in those things. We're in gullus. We're in exile. But Pesach, especially the first 12 days of Nisan, we can tap into that energy of geula, of redemption, and we can be redeemed from our own personal exiles. We have to pay attention. We have to be present. Mindfulness. To think about the here and now. Right? So, what he's saying is we're re-experiencing that energy, that geula. We're leaving Egypt now. On Seder night, we're experiencing Egypt. Now, so to the degree that we experience that on Seder night, that's what we tap into every night of the year when we remember Yetzias Mitzrayim. So that's the commemoration, but you're commemorating the feeling that you got on Seder night. So we're supposed to take that feeling with us throughout the year. To the degree that we internalized it Seder night, that's going to be the quality of our mitzvah of commemorating Egypt throughout the year. So that's why it's brought here. It's brought here to remind us that it's not just tonight, it's every night of the year and every morning of the year we have the mitzvah to remember leaving Egypt, but that's all connected to Seder night. Like the Rambam doesn't list it as two separate mitzvahs. He lists it as one mitzvah, if I remember correctly. What time is it? We have time for another one? One more. Turn to page 14. Page 14, second paragraph. Baruch Shomer Haftachato Yisrael. Blessed is one Shomer. What's Shomer mean? Keeps or a Shomer maintains, guards, right? A guard, a Shomer is a guard. Safeguards. Haftachato. What's haftacha?
It's a promise.
Promise. Yisrael.
Sure.
Blessed is the one who guarded his promise to Yisrael. What does that mean? We're thanking Hashem that He kept His promise. What does that mean? I have to thank you. You're a human. You know, it used to be 30 years ago, I don't know, people, my word is my bond. And nowadays, word means nothing. Even a contract, even swear, nothing. People's word means nothing nowadays. But Hashem, you figure Hashem makes a promise, He's going to keep His promise. Oh, Thank you. You're such a great God. You kept your promise. Really? That's what we're thinking here? Does that make any sense? Hashem's seal is truth. Right? His signature is truth. Emes. I'm worried he's not going to keep his promise. What does that mean? So it says Shomer. He guarded his promise. Let's say I made a deal with you. Let's say I said that if you run 10 miles, so you can come to my house for Shabbos this week, let's say. So let's say you decide, I don't want to come to your house for Shabbos this week. But you ran anyway. So you ran the 10 miles, and you don't want to come for Shabbos. So if you don't come, did I go back on my promise?
No.
Huh? No, right? Because you don't want it anymore. So Klal Yisrael, the Rizal says, we're on the 49th level of Tumah, of impurity. If Hashem waited any longer, we wouldn't have wanted to come out. So if we didn't want to come out, then Hashem is absolved of his promise. He has no promise anymore, right? So Hashem waited to the last moment where we still wanted to come out. He waited to the moment where the promise was still there. So he guarded his promise, meaning he waited till the promise was still there. If he waited any longer, we wouldn't have wanted to go out. So we're thanking Hashem because we know, now that we went through it, we know it was the best thing for us. So we're thanking Hashem for not waiting that extra moment and taking us out at the last moment when we still wanted that promise. One more thing. Marar. The Gemara goes into the different topics. What is marar? Is it lettuce? Is it horseradish? So really, the Gemara seems to say that the best thing for marar is lettuce, romaine lettuce.
Oh, like the Romans.
So why shouldn't it be wrong holiday? Why shouldn't it be, if it's supposed to be bitter herbs, the pasuk says, "V'maru es chayehem," they embittered their lives. So it should be the most bitter thing. Romaine lettuce is not the most bitter thing. So the reason is because it's tasteless. Rabbi Zweig says it's because it has no taste. Because the work that we did in Mitzrayim had no taste. What does that mean? Wasn't fulfilling. Exactly. They had to build a structure on almost quicksand. They would build the structure and it would fall down again. Pour this water, pour the pitcher, they would pour it out. They did meaningless work. They had men do women's work and women do men's work. It was a whole psychological breakdown. It was tasteless. There was no meaning. Okay, it's different if you're a slave and at the end of the day you still built an amazing city. Okay, so it was hard work, but you still feel a sense of accomplishment. They felt no accomplishment. Everything they did was done and over the next day. It was tasteless. So marar, it's bitter. It's not just bitter, but it's supposed to be tasteless. To understand that they had a whole tasteless. It wasn't just slavery. It was even a tasteless slavery. There was no meaning to anything that they were doing. So these are a few insights to think about. And everybody should have a Chag Kosher Sameach. I think we don't have class next week. We might have class before Pesach. We might not. Stay tuned. Everyone should have a Chag Kosher Sameach. And it's beginning. Shana Tova, a new year.
Oh man!
A new month for the year, and really take advantage of the first 12 days of Nissan, because you can really pray for the entire year. It's very special. Don't waste it. Hashem should help us all. We should be zeicha to be back in Yerushalayim, to have the real karbanos, the real carbon Pesach.